Commissioner Weiss, what are your disclosures for number 7?
Thank you, Mayor. I had verbal communication with Mark Perry and Doug Murray.
Oh, Vice Mayor's still looking.
No, I got it. I just was making sure I gave the receive and file. So yes, I have written communications on item 7, emails have been filed with the clerk, verbal communications with Claudia Morrow, Donna Earing, forgive me if I said that wrong, Mark Perry, Doug Murray, Jennifer Strickland, and no site visit.
Thank you. I have written correspondence that has been filed with the clerk, and my staff spoke with Mark Perry. Thank you. Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mayor. I had verbal communication with Mark Perry and Doug Murray and email correspondence filed with the clerk.
Commissioner Sacks.
Thank you, Mayor. I had an item number 7, in-person meeting with Doug Murray, Mark Perry, Peter Patel, and received and filed emails with the clerk.
Commissioner Flores.
I have written communication with Mark Perry and Mr. Patel, and verbal communication, sorry. Yes, that's right. And then verbal communication with Mark Perry. No site visits.
And Commissioner Powell, we're back to you.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Had communication with Mark Perry and Doug Murray.
Okay. So Commissioner Weiss has an amendment.
I want to amend to include any email correspondence, and all my staff pull them. Sounds like everybody got it, so I don't know why it wasn't on here.
All righty. So we're on to the staff, actually, the applicant presentation.
Yes. Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. Doug Murray on behalf of the applicant. So items 7 and 8, as staff mentioned, these are companion applications. We have the Ascot 441 Atlantic PDD DOA application and the Neal property zoning application. These are companion applications for a preserve swap in the Ag Reserve. Both the existing and the proposed parcels are located adjacent to 441 on the west side of 441. So our request with these two applications, we have a rezoning of the proposed preserve parcel of 15 acres from AGR to AGR PUD, a development order amendment to add land area, which is 15 acres, and delete 15 acres for an existing 330 acre PUD, AGR PUD, and to allow the partial release of the conservation easement on the existing preserve parcel and a rezoning of the preserve parcel to AGR. So taking you to the, this is the intersection of 441 and Atlantic Avenue. The preserve parcel, the subject preserve parcel is on the northwest corner, the hard corner of US 441 in Atlantic. It's 15 acres. The development parcel is Ascot 441 PUD, which is now known as Four Seasons, which is on the northeast corner of Atlantic and 441. So they have a total of 200 acres of preserve scattered among 6 parcels. So this is parcel 1 on the west side of 441. It's approximately 100 acres. And this proposal is to remove the preserve designation from the southern 15 acres at the hard corner. And that preserve designation would then go to this parcel. Again, they're exactly the same acreage, exactly 15 acres. It would go to this parcel, which is halfway between Hypoluxo Boulevard and Boynton Beach Boulevard on the west side. This is contiguous to about a 97 acre existing preserve, so it's not an isolated preserve. It would be contiguous. Taking you back to the parcel that we're removing the conservation easement from at the, again, intersection of US of 441 and Atlantic Boulevard. Again, that southern 15 acres to be removed from preserve parcel 1. And you can see this is the zoning map. As you can see on all the other intersections, we have either commercial uses or industrial uses. So we think this is much more appropriate to remove the conservation easement from and transfer it to the other parcel that's not at a major intersection, which is one of 4 in the Ag Reserve, one of 4 major intersections. With this application, we are simply transferring the preserved parcels where there is no development proposed at this time. We do acknowledge that this would possibly open up the door if the comp plan would change in the future. But again, we feel this is a more appropriate location to not have a preserved portion because it's at a major intersection. So as of, if this is approved, it would retain, the zoning would go from AGR PUD to AGR, so still only allowed to have agricultural uses on it. The staff assessment, staff is recommending approval of this application, as well as zoning commission also recommended approval. In addition, we did meet with the Four Seasons HOA, and they have no objection. I've written correspondence from them that they have no objection to this application, as well as we have a written letter from the Alliance of Delray that they have no objections to this application. That concludes my presentation, and I'm here for any questions you may have.
Does staff have anything they'd like to add?
No, we have a presentation if you like, but we have nothing to add.
Okay. Commissioner Sacks, do you have questions for the applicant or staff?
I'm ready to make a motion.
We have cards, do we have cards on this one? We have no cards. Oh, thank you. All right, we have no cards. Commissioner Sacks.
At this time, I would like to make a motion to approve, let me make sure I have the magic words, Lisa, to approve this application to my district, and seeing that all the community organizations support it, and I do too.
Second.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve items 7A, B, and C. Is that correct, Commissioner Sacks?
Whatever Lisa says, then that's the way it is.
We had a motion from Commissioner Sacks, a second by Commissioner Flores. All in favor, all opposed, so that motion carries 7-0. Thank you very much.
Thank
Very
you.
much.
All right, we're going to move on to item 8.
8 was largely covered in the presentation by Doug Murray, so if you'd like, you can make a motion on this one as well.
We need to take disclosures on item number 8. So, want me to start that? That's fine? Commissioner Powell, you got your disclosures ready for item number 8?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Disclosures will be the same as previously, Doug Murray and Mark Perry.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. I had verbal communications with Mark Perry and Doug Murray, and if I have any emails, they'll be filed with the clerk.
Thank you. Vice Mayor.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yes, on item number 8, we had written emails that have been filed. Claudia Morrow, Donna Earing, Mark Perry, Doug Murray, and Jennifer Strickland are whom I've had verbal communication with, and no site visit.
Thank you. And my staff spoke with Mark Perry, and I filed correspondence with the clerk. Thank you. Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you, Mayor. I had verbal communication with Mark Perry and Doug Murray and email correspondence filed.
Thank you. Commissioner Sacks.
Thank you, Mayor. I have verbal communication with Mark Perry, phone calls, in-person meetings, Doug Murray, Mark Perry again, and Peter Patel. And I've received and filed the emails and letters. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores.
Sometimes I just want to say all the above just to cover myself. Written communications with Mark Perry and Peter Patel, verbal communications with Mark Perry, and no site visits.
Okay, so we've got disclosures out of the way. I don't think we need any additional information. May I get a motion and a second to approve? I have a motion from Commissioner Powell, a second from Commissioner Woodward. All in favor? All opposed? See that that motion carries 7-0. All right, we are on we're now into zoning applications, item 9, which is Gardens of Pine Ridge. And we do have disclosures on this one also. So why don't we go ahead and take the disclosures at this time? And I'll start with Commissioner Flores.
My sheet says none. Nothing to all the above.
None by Commissioner Sacks.
Commissioner Woodward.
No disclosures.
I spoke with John Roche and Brian Seymour, and I had correspondence that I filed with the clerk. Vice Mayor?
On number 9, no written communications, verbal, Brian Seymour, John Roach, Eric Moore, and David Wolkoff, and no site visit.
Thank you. Commissioner Powell, your light is on.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Point of clarification, I believe that the Pine Ridge that we spoke with John Roach about may have been the one from yesterday, or is that the same one as well?
It's a different.
Oh.
Yeah, this is
Gardens
different.
at Pine Ridge is not the AHS Pine Ridge.
Yeah, it's not
How
the
about
same.
that name, Josh? How many Pine Ridges can we do? So this one is represented by Josh Nichols
Yeah.
and not, Brian Seymour may have been AHS
Yep.
Pine Ridge.
Correct. Thank you. Sorry. You're absolutely right. Too many Pine Ridges.
Yours came in first.
Okay, so I withdraw my disclosures of John Roche and Brian Seymour, because that was not today, not on this one. Thank you for the clarification. Okay, so Vice Mayor, clarification or
I will, same.
same? Ditto.
Just same, ditto.
Commissioner Weiss.
My staff spoke with Josh Nichols.
Thank you. Commissioner Powell.
I don't have that I have had any communication with regard to this one.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does staff want a presentation? I mean, does the board want a presentation on Gardens of Pine Ridge?
No. It's your district.
Okay, someone want to make a motion?
So moved.
Excuse me,
I'll let the district commissioner.
one quick second if I could.
Sure.
The only thing I wanted to add, we had a gentleman here who lives across the street from this project earlier. He didn't want to stay. I met with him in his living room for about 2.5 hours 2 days ago. He wanted me to help him push for sewer connection along Pine Ridge. So I told him we don't have the ability to do it with our project because of the public-private transition, but I told him that I would work with staff and push that along. So I did. I told him I would put that on the record, and he was free to leave for the afternoon. But so I just wanted to put that out there.
Okay, but that has nothing to do with this application.
No.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Flores, Commissioner Sacks?
No, I just want to commend you on that. I'm glad that you took the time to listen to him and that you're bringing it before the board. And I'm assuming the district commissioner is probably going to be all over that. So thank you for being a person of your word and bringing it up.
Commissioner Sacks?
I was going to echo exactly what, I think he took the words out of my head. But anyways, could you just give us his name for the record?
I won't pronounce his first name because I think it's 14 and a half letters, but his last name is Vias, Mr. Vias. Yes, yes.
Thank you. So I believe we had a motion from the Vice Mayor and a second from Commissioner Weiss. All in favor? All opposed? See that motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
All right, we are on 7th and Haverhill. This is both 10 and 11. So we do have a card, and we will have a presentation, but we also have disclosures. So why don't we go ahead and it's not Pine Ridge, so there won't be duplication. So Commissioner Flores, any disclosures for item number 11?
Can you come back to me because I know there's a mistake here.
Commissioner Sacks.
Thank you. Are we doing Mayor 10 and 11? Or
10 does not require disclosures, but 11 does, so.
Okay. So for 11, I have in-person meetings with Joshua Nichols, Meredith Lee, Daniel Marikavis, and emails and letters have been filed with the clerk.
Thank you.
Probably have the same ones, right?
No disclosures.
I have no disclosure. I apologize. I do have written correspondence that has been filed with the clerk.
No disclosures, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Weiss.
Thank you, Mayor. I've had verbal communication with Danny Marakovitz, Jonathan Vilma, Pastor Garfield, Jasmine Lynch, and Josh Nichols.
Thank you. Commissioner Powell.
I don't have any, showing no disclosures, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Flores.
Yes, I had verbal and written communications with Daniel Markowitz and verbal with Jonathan Bilma.
Thank you. Okay,
No site visits, so.
thank you. So we're going to take 10 and 11 together.
Yes.
Go right ahead, thank you.
Good afternoon. Meredith Lay with Schutz and Bowen. I'm here on behalf of the applicant for 7th at Haverhill. The request before you today is the future land use map change, as well as the adoption for the text amendment for the comprehensive plan, coupled with the zoning applications for a Class A conditional use and Type 2 waiver. This is our project team. This project is brought forth by the property owner in partnership with Proceeded Development and Traybell Housing. They've partnered to bring this application forward, and we're proud to bring it to you today. It's been a long road. Traybell Housing is a locally grown developer and real estate company. They specialize in mixed income and affordable housing, workforce housing projects throughout South Florida. And they've partnered with Proceeded Development because they, although they have most of their development is in the Northeast, they specialize in these partnerships, or they have a vast experience in these partnerships with places of worship, faith-based organizations, to bring housing to their properties and partner with them. This is an overview of the project. It's a mixed-use project. It's 50 with the place of worship and the 101 multifamily units in a 5-story building. It is a vertically integrated project, which is definitely novel and unique for unincorporated Palm Beach County. However, as I'll show in a couple of slides later, it is a concept that has been growing in popularity throughout the country, and we have several examples down here in South Florida of such a concept. This project is located on Haverhill Road, about half a mile south of Okeechobee Boulevard, so it's kind of centrally located in the urban redevelopment area. The reasons for these amendments, why they're brought forward, is because not only are we facing an affordable housing crisis, but churches or places of worship also have an affordability crisis of their own. And they also happen to have, some of them happen to have surplus of land on their properties. And so what's been happening is that these partnerships form to make better use and to allow for the church to be able to stay on their property and afford to make improvements that they have maybe had to defer because maintenance costs are high, but they are not able to grow and expand to be able to afford those improvements. So these are some examples of similar projects that we've had in South Florida. There's 3 or 4 in Miami. 2 of them are actually already complete, 601 Brickell and Society Biscayne. Granted, those are very high-rise in the downtown of Miami. And we're speaking sort of red apples to Granny Smith apples. I mean, they're slightly different in the context here. So we're only a 5-story building in comparison. We also have an example here in West Palm Beach, the Family Church and the Peace Village. Those are horizontally integrated examples, but same kind of partnership. Although I will go back to the Family Church, I don't think that that's going to be an affordable housing, but I think the Peace Village is. Site location, as I mentioned, it is on the southwest corner of Pine Grove Drive and Haverhill Road. The current zoning is residential high, and the current future land use is high residential, 8 units an acre. We are requesting to change the density of the future land use designation to 12 units an acre, but the zoning will remain the same. It is in a couple of planning overlays. In addition to the urban redevelopment area, it's also in the revitalization and redevelopment infill overlay and the Stacy Street area CCRT. These designations basically mean that this property and areas around it are kind of what the comprehensive plan is targeted for redevelopment and infill redevelopment projects. Within a half mile of our property, even though it's not a commercial corridor or a high volume, there's not a lot of commercial things happening, there are a lot of goods and services within a half a mile. You have 2 daycares within a half mile of this property. We also have several places of worship, the Wawa, of course, up the street. And within half a mile, you've got the shopping center that has the LA Fitness, and just outside of that 10-minute walk, you'll have Sprouts and other places of employment. The firehouse is within a 5-minute response time to this location. The public library is just outside of that, and you'll see the Walmart and the PBIA airport is right near. The property is on a bus line. That connects to several different bus lines north and south of it. We have a bus stop right on our property. This is the future land use map as it currently stands. When the 1989 comprehensive plan was adopted, this property was initially had a future land use designation of HR 12. In the early 90s, the town of Haverhill, in their Haverhill neighborhood plan, we've talked about neighborhood plans a lot today, but their neighborhood plan in 1995 said, we think HR 8 is more appropriate, can you please lower the density, please? So the BCC at that time did. And that's why we have HR 8 for this current property and for the property south of it. However, if you'll see to the east and west of it, they're already designated as high residential 12 units an acre. So we'd be going back to what's a historic designation as well as consistent with what is adjacent to it. This is the zoning map. It's not changing. It's high residential, multifamily, residential all around it. So I'll get to the requests. The requests for the planning requests that are up for adoption today is the future land use map amendment and the text amendment. The text amendment will allow properties that have affordable housing that's 100% affordable to allow them to purchase additional TDRs up to 7 dwelling units an acre. And for developments co-located with places of worship and residential uses, that the text amendment will allow both of those uses to utilize 100% of the residential density and 100% of the non-residential intensity that would be permitted by the comprehensive plan designation. Under the base zoning district, under the base future land use at HR 8, the property would be allowed 27 units. Going to 12 units an acre, it would be allowed 40 units an acre. So it would increase the density by right by 13 units. The density bonuses would allow us to get to the 101 that we are seeking, so overall the density would go to approximately 30 units an acre. Staff is recommending approval with conditions, and the applicant is in agreement with the planning conditions as written in the staff report, and we have recommendation for approval from the Planning Commission, and this application was transmitted to the state in May.
Thank you.
And now I'll go to the zoning. I'll zip through this really quickly. The zoning app, do we need to?
Well,
take-
actually, does anyone need the zoning application presentation?
I would love to second this.
We need it first.
Madam Mayor? Yes, if it's okay, I'd like to see the zoning application. I got a couple questions, too.
Okay, thank you. And we also have a card. And I have 2 more lights on. Commissioner Weiss, your light is also on. Commissioner Sachs, you turned your light off. Okay, good. All right, let's go for the second half and
Okay, power through. So the zoning application is for a Class A conditional use for transfer TDRs for more than 2 units an acre. And within that request, we have an affordable housing density bonus, 93% request. The second part is a type 2 waiver for the parking reduction that is permitted for, that is now allowed for affordable housing projects. With this project, 100% of the units will be affordable at 60% or below the AMI. And in Palm Beach County, where we have at 111,000 AMI, we're talking $67,000 average median, area median incomes. Not more than 20% of those units can be below or 30% of the AMI, so the bulk of the units will be affordable to those between 30 and 60%. The type 2 waiver that we're requesting would reduce the parking to 135 spaces is what we are proposing. The current code requires the 172 parking spaces just for the multifamily portion of the project. The waiver reduction that was adopted in March by the BCC would have allowed a reduction to 130 units for this particular mix of units. And We are proposing 135 units. The church itself would be allocated at 50 units, or, I'm sorry, 50 parking spaces, so our total parking count is 185 parking spaces. We did have to submit a parking study and a parking demand study and a parking management plan that we went through with staff, and so we worked pretty closely with staff on it, and we happy we met their standard on it. By the numbers, I went through most of this stuff already. Just the parking waiver would reduce the parking by 37 spaces, and that is driven by our unit mix of 40 studios, 43 one-bedrooms, and 18 two-bedroom units. Oh, and I did want to mention the height. The maximum allowed height by the code is 35 feet. However, for each additional foot above 35, you have to increase your setbacks. We had to increase our setbacks by a minimum of 21 feet, but we are exceeding that by, on all sides by a lot. Some benefits of the projects. I went through all of these except for, this project will beautify this area of the corridor. It's going to be something new, something to fill, new landscaping, new lighting, a new bus shelter, and a school bus shelter as well along that frontage. Then we also have infrastructure upgrades, because with every new project that comes along, and this part of the Haverhill has got a lot of aging infrastructure. And so this project will result in some upgrades which has downwind effect or downstream effects to benefit everyone. This is the site plan of the project. You'll enter onto Haverhill Road. There's the main access for the residential, which is on the north side of the building, and the main entry for the church is on the south side of the building. And I'll show you those in some elevations. The parking will be designated set aside for the church, and would be designated as such. And we have recreation on the southwest and north portions of the property. Because we did have TDRs in the request, elevations were required, and so this is what we submitted and got certified with back in June. The conditions of approval, I'll show you the befores and what we're working on now, but the conditions of approval will result in some changes in these elevations. This is the north side of the, yes, this is the north side of the building where the residential entrance is in the center of the building. This will be the south side of the building. You see the church entry there in yellow. The east and west elevations, so the front and the rear of the property. So when you see what you'll see on Haverhill versus what you'll see on the back side of the property. We did have to also submit a visual impact analysis, and what we don't have here is the buffers that will be installed, but what I did want to show is that we'd have a minimum 175 feet separation between this proposed building and the nearest structure on the north side of Pine Grove Drive. And east to west, going across Haverhill Road, the closest building is 277 feet away. The development on the east side of Haverhill Road has 2- and 3-story apartment buildings. To our west is a 1-story structure, and there's a minimum 160 feet separation between our structure and theirs. And just some perspectives of what was certified. This is from the view from the north approach on Haverhill Road going south. This is what you see on the northwest corner, so on Pine Grove Drive as people are heading out to Haverhill Road. This would be the view. This is a view from the southeast corner going north on Haverhill Road. And this is the view from the southwest corner from the little tot lot recreation area. And just really quickly, these next few are what we revised the elevations or the architecture to in response to the conditions of approval, but I think we and staff agree that we're going to continue to work on these because the conditions for the balconies have changed, and so we are not 100% there yet. Southeast corner, and then also again from the southwest corner. We did meet with the public back in January. We had a meeting with the Stacy Area CCRT neighborhood group. There were a few people in attendance and nobody had any questions. And then we also presented to the town of Haverhill and had a discussion with their town council. We believe we comply with all the standards for the conditional use, and staff's analysis is that they agree. I can go through each one of them, but we've had a long day.
think we're good.
And then we have, I'm happy to answer any questions about them if you do have any, of course. But we are thankful to have staff's recommendation of approval on it.
Thank you. I see no lights on, but I know we do have a card. Okay. There's no lights on. Would you like to make a comment,
I
Commissioner
have
Powell?
questions.
Okay.
You want to take the cards first, or?
We have one card. Why don't we go ahead and, since you're,
Jasmine Lynch.
I'm Jasmine Lynch, Pastor Jasmine Lynch from the West Palm Beach Seventh-day Baptist Church. I live at 2725 Hawthorne Lane, West Palm Beach, Florida. The West Palm Beach Seventh-day Baptist Church has been struggling to own its own building since its inception in 1992. Our goal since inception was to serve its members and the community. As you know, when you rent a building, you have limited access, and that limits the kind of service you can offer. Today, it costs about $3 to $6 million to build a church, and of course, if you have a small congregation, that is not attainable. We met with Trebell and Presida developers, and they offered to advance us the money for the lease to build our church, and we lease them the property so they could build affordable housing. Now, that was acceptable to us because we always wanted to help the housing crunch in Palm Beach County. And so we're very happy to work with them, and they're happy to work with us to accomplish our goal, and they also will accomplish the goal of helping to solve the housing problems in Palm Beach County. At this time, I would like to encourage, to beg the board to approve this plan. Thank you.
thank you. Commissioner Powell has questions, and followed by Commissioner Sacks.
Thank you so kindly, Madam Mayor. And thank you, Pastor, for that wonderful presentation. You hit kind of what I was going to ask about. With regard to this project, Meredith, the ownership of the land would stay with the church, is that correct?
Yes.
Being that the ownership of the land stays with the church, and I know for most churches, they are classified as nonprofits, which means they usually don't have to pay taxes on the land. In this particular case, with the development of 101 new units that would all be affordable, is it not taxed as well because it's still under the ownership of the church, or because it's being leased by the developer who's developing the 101 units? Are they paying some type of taxes?
I think that they would be taxable if the state did not exempt affordable housing projects from taxes. The developer had planned to, what was it, the pro forma had included the provision for taxes on the residential portion of the development. The structure might have been a condoized structure. However, the New Live Local Act with the taxation benefits kind of exempts the residential portion from taxes as well.
Thank you for that. I wanted to make sure I clarify that. Another question with regard to that. I understand that there's going to be a lease on the property. How long is the lease?
Can you identify yourself, please?
Danny Morakovitz, Principal Trebell Housing. The lease will be 99 years.
Thank you, Danny. And at the conclusion of the lease, I would imagine that the units would now then at that point be owned by the church, who is the owner of the property, or what would happen there?
The ownership of the actual building will be with the church. The church will have a third-party property manager managing it, but the overall ownership, the ability to sell the building, that's on them, whatever they decide.
Thank you for that. I was looking at the site plan, and I see the aerial, the small building in the looks like the northwest corner, northeast corner. Is that currently the church?
From the aerial?
Yes.
There's only one building, to my knowledge, on the property, and that's a converted house that is the place of worship.
Yes.
It's a converted house that is the place of worship. Now, I understand that. Now, with the construction of the 101 units, would this current house then be demolished and incorporated into the new development?
Yeah,
Is that what would
it'll be
take place
demolished,
here?
and we've worked out a deal with the church that we will find them church space, pay for their church space to rent until the project is complete, and then they can move back in.
What's the anticipated timeframe of the project?
Overall construction?
Yes,
24 months.
24 months. I think you clarified with the reduction in parking, 37 parking spaces, and how that falls in. And I think staff is recommending approval of that. I see that the conceptual plan, there's 40% balconies that were required. I think that's still in queue. What's the status of that? I heard you mention it just a little bit earlier, Meredith.
Yeah, we've, through discussions with staff since the zoning commission, the condition will read that we'll have a minimum of 26% balconies. That's what the project was originally certified with.
We modified from 40% to 26% because we worked with the applicant to put in a bus shelter. So that was the, since the zoning commission, the discussion that we've had.
Thank you, Lisa. I was looking at the conceptual plans. The bus shelter that has been mentioned, is it shown in the conceptual plans, or is that just noted as part of the site plan that it will
It's
exist?
just noted, it'll be part of the permitting. Right now on the site plan, we have an easement. That'll be, there's an easement, I can't point to anything, but right on the property's frontage above just north of the sidewalk, what we have planned is a little school bus shelter, and then the standard 20 or 30 by 10 palm training easement just north of that. So there'd be two separate structures on the property frontage. The terms of the agreement, we will need to communicate with Palm Train on to get the easement drafted, and whatever Palm Train approves for the shelter, that's what would be built.
Thank you. Is that a newly dedicated easement or an easement that's existing on the site
It'll
already?
be newly dedicated.
Thank you for that. You're going from HR 8 to HR 12, and this particular property, the property that's below it still will be HR 8, and you indicated this was based on the town of Haverhill previously asking to go down from HR 12 to HR 8.
I'm sorry, may I correct that? That was not a Town of Haverhill neighborhood plan. That was a Palm Beach County Planning Division-led neighborhood plan. The Town of Haverhill was a participant, but it was staff-led.
Thanks for clarifying.
Thank you for that. And the reason I asked that question, Lisa, is that particular piece of property, of course, it still sits across the street from what looks to be single family, but if that goes from HR 8 to HR 12, the property below it or directly adjacent and beneath will probably end up wanting to do the same thing or needing to do the same thing.
Sorry, go. You mean the property to the south of ours, not to the, okay.
Correct. Not directly related to this particular project. 100% affordable units, which I think is amazing, with all being 60% below the area median income. 185 parking spaces. Can the church parking be used? Let me ask you this question. When it comes to parking spaces, and there's a reduction because of a parking waiver that's being requested, and the church in itself, which is going to be constructed along with this building, you're waiving the parking spaces, but the church, which will not, mainly probably won't operate except for maybe on Sundays and sometimes on the evenings. Those parking spaces that have been waived, the 37, there's the additional parking spaces that are allowed for the church. In times of need, will those parking spaces if necessary, for the individuals living in these units or visiting. I think it probably goes without saying, but those more than likely will be able to be used for reserved parking spaces. Is that correct?
Do you mean, excuse me, you mean are the church parking spaces going to be allowed to be used for guests? In the parking management plan, each resident will be allowed, a parking space or a parking pass for guests. And it's on a first come, first served basis. If the spaces are not available, then they're not available. In the case with the church, they will be, when the congregates come to church, those spaces will be theirs to utilize, and the parking situation will be monitored by the property management company.
Thank you. Could there ever end up being a situation where the church is not in service, but because those spaces that are dedicated for the church are not in use, and there's the property management reviewing them or monitoring them, that people who are visiting, could they potentially, because this happens in other places, maybe not at Palm Beach, but maybe it does, where those people may use parking spaces that are dedicated to the church, and although the church is not in service, they have their cars towed?
It's possible. I mean, if property management is doing what they're supposed to, those spots are dedicated for the church. That's what code is asking, and that's what we're doing, and that's why we put together a parking management plan. So hopefully guests are parking in guest spots, residents are parking in resident spots, and the churchgoers are parking in church spots.
Okay, and that's even when church is not in session?
Yes.
Thank you for that. No further questions, Madam Mayor?
Commissioner Sacks.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank Commissioner Powell. You brought up some really good, interesting ideas, because this is the first time in Palm Beach County that we have an integration of a church and a housing unit. Tell me another one. If anybody knows, I've asked the applicant. There are some integration of churches with private entities in Miami-Dade, but I know of no other here in Palm Beach County. This is a policy change, and I have some concerns, especially for the church. If I may, just 1 second, and then you'll have all the time to respond. Integrating a place of worship into a privately developed housing structure is a change of policy. And if we do that here, then we are opening this up to all places of worship in the county to integrate into a housing unit, a privately developed housing unit. There are federal tax issues that I'm concerned with. And I looked into it because it just bothers me. It's a novel idea, and maybe it's a damn good idea because we need housing. But I'm not sure if the church is going to be that protected under the federal income tax code. Does the church have an attorney or an advocate for protecting its rights during this negotiation with you, sir?
1,000%. Church
I'm
has.
sorry.
1,000%. Yes, church has representation. They have their own representation.
They have an attorney representing them? Is that attorney here today?
Yes, Commissioner. Is that attorney here today? No,
Could
he's
you
not here
name
today.
him or her, please?
Orlando. What's Orlando's last name?
I don't know.
What's huh? His name's Orlando. We'll get you his information.
Okay, I wish he
on
was
weekly
here
calls
today
with us.
because pursuant to federal law, places of worship, as we know and you brought up, receive special tax exemptions from the Internal Revenue Code. They pay no federal income taxes. All their financial support is tax-free under the Internal Revenue Code. So, however, Pastor Jasmine,
Yes.
a requirement for a church or any place of worship to receive that type of tax exemption from the United States federal government is that the church has to operate exclusively for religious or charitable purposes. So that means that any earnings that come into the church don't benefit private entities. All right?
Yeah, we are aware.
And the First Amendment, of course, is going to prevent any type of government interference in places of worship. So my concern is that there could be some tax consequences to your church. Right? And without having a document from an attorney representing your church, it concerns me to move on this without that information. Also, in Florida statute 196.196, only portions of property used predominantly for religious, charitable, or educational purposes are exempt from taxes, property taxes. Any portion that's used predominantly for profit-making or non-exempt purposes may be taxed, So one thing that, and I'm going to let you talk all you want. I bet you can talk good. I have a concern that the church may be jeopardizing their property tax exempt status under federal legislation, federal law, as well as state. And second thing is I am concerned that this policy change, we're going to need to bring in, and may not be a bad idea because we need housing, but we got to open this up to every place of worship, every synagogue, every temple, every mosque, every church that is a place of worship is going to open it up. And if we do it for one, we got to have a policy for all. So I am concerned about this, and I'm going to look to staff to help me out and answer these questions. My third concern I have is I just received this the other day. I don't know about my colleagues. This is a big policy change. And I do not appreciate getting these types of applications for policy changes the same week that I'm going to be required to vote on it. And I don't know what happened here, staff. Why is it that I just got this the other day? And I was pretty heavy-handed on the agenda review because of my concerns on federal. I know that, Darren, you sent me some tax. I'm looking at you all the time. You just, I don't, yeah, you're just sitting there, you know. But I received from your office. But not one of the 8 property tax exemptions for housing developments in the state concerned a church. And I think that this is a big jump. Maybe it's good. I think it's a novel, and I told to the applicant, it's a novel idea. But I sure as hell need more information. And I need more time to consult with our lawyers, as well as the church's representative, her lawyer, before I'm prepared to make a decision. So, staff, I look to you for a little direction here. Thank you.
May I speak now?
I'm looking for staff right now.
Okay. There's a text amendment to the comprehensive plan with this item that was previously transmitted, and the text amendment has a policy change in it as for the density. Can Travis, or if Twee is here, would like to explain the text amendment?
Yeah, I just want to point out, this is not the first time the land use has been before you. This was before you in May for consideration of transmittal, and the board did transmit the item. So this is the adoption hearing, at least for the future land use amendment portion of it. The policy language that is being changed, request to be changed by the applicant, is in the future land use element, and it is a request to allow for 100% of the density and institutional intensity to be used. So the institutional intensity would be the place of worship. So in a way, I could understand how that could potentially be a policy change on that. The other one is to allow the use of up to 7 TDRs per acre for projects that are in the URA within a quarter mile of a transit stop and are providing 100% of the units requested as affordable housing units. Those are the 2 policy changes that the applicant's requesting in addition to their land use to HR 12.
Did anybody examine the tax consequences for the church?
That's not our purview.
We did early on. We talked and we had heard that they would be taxed for the land improvement value, so there still would be a tax impact, but as far as the church's relationship with the taxation, no.
So the church will be taxed? They
Well,
will lose their tax exempt status? or-
the taxing, I believe, will be done on the land improvement value, but the portion, it was extremely complicated, and I wish we had somebody from the property appraiser here, but
Do
it won't, and I don't know how affordable housing taxes work. Patrick, help?
The only thing I can add to that is a number of years ago, we, board approved a development project, apartment project on Okeechobee, right next to the Tesla dealership. That's on town of Palm Beach owned lands. The developer is leasing the land from the town. I can't remember all the details as well, but we did confirm that they will pay taxes on the value attributed to the development portion, even though the ownership would still be retained by a public entity. And my understanding is the same would be essentially, effectively, the same case would apply here.
So there would be a tax event on the church?
May I speak
No,
to
hold on
that?
just one second. I just want to finish it. Because the land that you're talking about in Okeechobee next to the Tesla dealer, that's on county or government-owned
Government.
property. This is a 501c3 house of worship. And my concern is that it may be, as I said to the applicants, it's an interesting idea to wrap a housing unit that's privately developed around a place of worship. That may help us with synagogues and mosques, as well as churches. But I just want to be prepared with information to know how that would affect the taxing status of that place of worship, and how we will open this up to all the other places of worship in the county. And these are questions I have yet to have answers to. So I feel like I'm unprepared today because of a lack of information on these very important issues. Thank you, Ms. Amara.
Vice Mayor Baxter.
It seems a little off subject after Commissioner Sachs's comments, but I'm curious, what is your price point you're aiming for in these units?
So we have 10% of the units at 50% or below, and we have
And
studio.
roughly, do we know what that dollar amount is?
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I
so
don't know off the top of my head.
Studios 1s and 2s at that 50% AMI will range from about $800 to about $1,050. And then for the 60% AMI units, it goes from about $1,000 to this, from the studios up to about 12 and change for the 2 bedrooms. 1278, I think, is a 2-bedroom.
Thank you.
Commissioner Weiss.
First off, thank you for being here. I want to, just to clarify, so the Peace Village, which is down the road on Haverhill and Summit, we approved a few months ago. Also in District 2. It's also church property that they're building affordable housing on. That was the first project we did this with. This may be new to us. Second time we're doing this in the county, but it's not new. It's not new in the state of Florida. It's not new in the United States. And this is one of the tools we are using to address our housing crisis. In fact, you all came in not too long after I was sworn in to ask about how we might be able to do this. And I want to, first off, I want to thank you and the members of your board and the church for helping, wanting to try and help solve this issue. And the same over at Peace Village. I want to thank staff for finding a way to bring these projects in. But after we started down this road, there's a bigger opportunity, And so outreach has been done with the churches all throughout Palm Beach County and the synagogues and anyone else who has a place of worship, to ask them to look and see how they might partner and become part of this solution. Because we have a lot of our places of worship have a lot of extra land that could be made available to help the people and help with the mission of what a place of worship is about, which is helping a community and building a community. I think that, this issue of the parking was something that we had to come up with a plan, and staff, you all found a way to do that. You found a way to identify if they were in the right place with the right access to transit, that we could reduce the parking requirements. We're trying to take the cost out of developing these units and giving the opportunity for the community to benefit by having this partnership with our places of worship. I think this is one of the greatest accomplishments that we've had in the last number of years in trying to address affordable housing in Palm Beach County. This is absolutely amazing that you all have stepped forward to do this. And this particular area is a low-income area of Palm Beach County that desperately, desperately needs quality, affordable housing. And you all are stepping up and making it happen. So I appreciate everybody's efforts. I think there were a lot of good questions, but this is phenomenal. And you have my full-throated respect and support for what you all are doing. And I think this is an amazing project. And with that, I would like to go ahead and make a motion on item number 10. This is a future land use and text application to approve that, noting it was recommended with approval with conditions, so I'm going to include those conditions by Planning Commission 8-0. It has staff's approval, and you have my approval. Thank you.
I still have some lights on, so we have a motion and a second. Did you get the motion maker in the second? Okay. Commissioner Flores, and then Commissioner Powell.
Well, Commissioner Weiss, I think nailed it right on the head. I think this is a pretty damn good project, in my opinion. I think when we are able to have these type of partnerships, we can really make a dent at the crisis that we're facing with housing. I see the housing council back there. I see them shaking their head in approval. So I'm assuming they have that rubber stamp of approval there back. Places of worship conduct other business other than just providing a place to worship. The church I go to, they have a whole school. They provide other services to the community. And what is more essential than a place to live for an individual? Why shouldn't a place of worship be able to do that and to provide housing for their people? So when I see the pastor and that board make this decision, and from what I heard is you seeked out the opportunity to help. So I commend you on that. I think this is a small, small grain that we're going to contribute back to the community, and I commend both of you, the partnership. Pastor, I do want to give you the opportunity to answer some of the questions that have been posed to you, because I know that you haven't been afforded that time. So do you want to clarify some of those questions?
Yeah, I just want to clarify the question about the attorney. We have one of the best attorney. He was once over housing for the state of Florida. His name is Orlando Cabrera, Cabrera. And he has worked in Palm Beach County too on housing. He's now stationed in Washington, D.C., but we meet every other Wednesday with the attorney's team. It's a team of them, and the development team, okay? Now, as far as the taxes for the church, you're concerned, and I appreciate the fact that you're looking out for us, but we are going to have what they call like a condo, and the church by itself will not tax. The rest of the property, that's their problem to deal with, the IRS and the taxing. But we are already assured that our church will not pay taxes. And the funding is separate. That is building our portion. So we don't have a concern about that. But we originally had the concern that you had. So we appreciate you looking out for us in that respect. But we're very confident that it's not going to be a tax liability for us.
So is it fair to say that you have done your due diligence?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
We have.
All right.
We have worked with enterprise community. We have gone through like 13 classroom sessions with them to make sure that developers don't take advantage of us. Okay, so we're well prepared and very well knowledgeable.
And if they do get out of line, you let me know.
I sure
I know
will.
some people.
Thank you.
No, with that, I wrap up my comments. I look forward to cutting the ribbon on this property soon.
Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I agree with a majority of what my colleagues said. But I do want to hit on some of the facts or some of the things that Commissioner Sachs pointed out with regard to this. All of us up here are definitely dedicated to making sure that we have affordable units in Palm Beach County. Understanding what's going on at state, I do want to make sure that we are careful in these relationships that churches will have with developers. Because as Commissioner Weiss pointed out, some of the churches are the places where we have a lot of land, where there's a lot of land. And developers are obviously going to approach churches to consider doing units, affordable units. And in order to do that, you want to make sure that you will make a profit. If that's a 99-year lease, want to make sure that that lease is beneficial to the church as well as the developer. The challenge that I had is when Commissioner Sachs asked who the attorney was, the pastor didn't know right offhand. You all knew. I want to make sure that the attorney for the church is someone that the church chose and is very comfortable with. When I deal with attorneys, and this is just me personally, I know them front and backwards. I can spit it out really quickly. When we talk about affordable housing, we've had the housing bond, and we've set aside a certain amount of funding to develop units. This obviously is going to be good because 60% and below of the area median income. But make no mistake about it, when people are renting these units, they're renting. And no matter what you do, as long as you're renting, you're not creating or building wealth. You're not going to own them. After 99 years, this will go back to, hopefully, this will go back to ownership, or the building, the structure will be owned by the church. But at no time, let's not make a mistake about this. At no time, if I'm a renter, am I going to own those facilities. So the beneficial relationship is hopefully between the church and those who are developing the properties. But I want to make sure that as this continues to happen, because the state has even advocated for this, that it creates a beneficial relationship. And if we, as commissioners who we know we have the housing bond and we have other tools in the toolbox that can be used to help develop affordable housing, we want to do that. But for me, personally, I also want to make sure that we're creating tools that will allow people to be able to purchase homes. As long as you're renting, you will never be an owner. As long as you're renting, you will never create generational wealth or create wealth for yourself. So I agree with my colleagues in terms of this being a great project. I don't know all the details. I won't say I agree with it being a great project because I haven't read the packet back and forth. And obviously, this is my first time really having a chance to discuss it and really look at it. But there are some challenges that I see. Maybe we can discuss this at a future time. I don't know if I'll support. I mean, I want to because it will help the least of those, but I really don't know the relationship. Thank you.
May I speak? Let me touch on the relationship, if I may, between us and the church. Our mission and our goal is to help communities to build affordable housing. We went into this relationship with the church to be true development partners. They do not work for us. We do not work for them. We are a partnership. Like Pastor said, we have bi-weekly calls where their team and our team, we've been collaborating now for 18 months, almost 2 years on this project. And I won't go into specific numbers, but our true partnership allows the church to participate in the developer fee. Our partnership allows the church to receive a percentage of the free cash flow. And our partnership with the church allows us to pay them for the land on a yearly ground lease payment. So this is a true partnership where we want to help the church, we want to help them succeed, we want to help them grow, we want to build them a new church, we want to build new housing. This is a partnership that myself, my business partner, and our team, this is why we're here, to do stuff like this. We are not market rate guys at all. We want to build affordable housing, we want to build communities, and we hopefully can help more churches and places of worship like this with our exact template, which is why we're going through all this, because we believe in this so much, and we believe that this need is this bad. And that's the partnership that we bring from day one. There was no negotiating, it wasn't back and forth. You're a development partner, you're gonna get this, you're gonna participate in everything, you're gonna be here every step of the way. And might I add that her son is kind of their consultant who's been in development for
20 years.
20 years. So you have a whole other branch of developer on the church side as well. So any other questions you have, whatever you need, this is as true of a partnership as I think you can imagine for a project like this.
Can I say one more thing? I'm sorry, when I told you our attorney and us are on first-name basis, why I couldn't come up with the last name right away. But we interviewed 3 attorneys, and we settled on the one we have, Orlando Cabrera. So he was not chosen for us. We have a development team. There are 5 of us from our church that work with their development team. And we are the ones, not just me, that meet every other Wednesday. And we go back and forth. And the attorney doesn't meet every time with us, but whenever anything needs to be done. And as you said, my son is a church consultant, and he's doing it pro bono because he has his own consulting company in Atlanta. He's worked for some of the largest firms in Atlanta. And he wordsmiths everything for us and makes sure everything is on the legal. So they can't take advantage of us. So I appreciate you looking out for the church, though. We really appreciate that. Okay?
Thank you. Any more, Commissioner Powell? No. Commissioner Sachs?
Thank you so much, Senator Commissioner Powell, because I think that what we all want to do is, and Pastor, why don't you come on up again? I want to hear more about your son. What we want to do, Pastor, is to make sure this is an arm's length transaction.
Yeah.
That this 99-year lease where monies is coming in and out is not going to adversely affect your tax bases or those for you or for your congregation. And that if there are any benefit, I'd love to wish I had more information about all this, because I do think it's a novel idea, and maybe we can use it for other places of worship. And I apologize, I didn't know that when it came before the board. Did it come before Travis?
May?
In May?
May
In
13th.
May. I didn't see that picture with the church there and the whole building, you know. I like pictures. So I didn't realize that this is what we were coming into, because this may be a brand-new idea that we can do more of. I just want to be sure. And if your attorney could write a letter, put it in the file, and I know you'll take care of it, won't you, applicant?
Right.
Make sure that that letter is there, so we feel comfortable knowing that you're going into this transaction with full transparency. For you got a nice piece of land there. You got a nice piece of land. And you know, don't forget that. So want to make sure that you got sharp attorneys from Schutz and Bowen here. This is big deal. I want to make sure it's absolutely good for you and for your congregation for the number of years.
Right.
Okay? So I appreciate all that you're doing. I appreciate the applicant. I was kind of heavy-handed on you the other day, but I just was very concerned that this transaction would adversely affect the tax situation, tax basis for the church.
No.
And if your attorney would write that letter, put it in the file. I don't need a copy as long as it's a matter of record. That's fine with me.
Just for clarification, what do you want his letter to state?
Want him to say that he's protecting you and that your tax basis
Oh,
is
okay.
preserved,
Okay.
okay, with the IRS.
No problem.
Okay?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Commissioner Senator Powell, for bringing it up. Thank you, sir.
Commissioner Weiss. Okay, I'm just going to make a brief comment. Thank you very much for doing this, for finding a way. And along the way, for a lot of years, we've been saying that to developers, churches are who have the property. And you've seen over the years where churches have sold their property to developers. We have an example of that in West Palm. We have an example of that in North Palm. This is a unique situation where the church becomes a partner. And in reference to having units that are rental units, I guess the hope would be that while they are in there and using it as a rental unit, they could possibly put aside some money so that apparently eventually be able to purchase something. My attitude about rentals and home ownership, quite frankly, if I didn't have to own my home, I'd be a renter right now. But I think there is a place for rentals and there are a place for homes. And I think as everything is cyclical, that may change in the future where it's more, where possibly the prices come down and it's less expensive to buy a home, to build a home, because right now building a home is a very expensive thing. The fact that there are units that will be serving this market and keep these folks off the street is important, and we thank you for doing that. So I think we had a motion from Commissioner Weiss. We had a second from Commissioner Flores. Any more discussion? Take the vote, please. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? So that motion carries 7-0. And now we're on to item 11.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Commissioner Weiss, would you like to make the motion?
Thank you, Mayor. And just also for the record, understand that the church, this was not the first developer the church worked with. They did their due diligence and to find the right partner for them. And they knew that the county, that my office, that the staff here was a resource to them whenever they needed it. And so It was, I want to say again, thank you to staff, thank you to the church. I'm glad you were able to move this along, and with that, I will make the motion to approve the request. And this is the zoning application for 7th at Haverhill. And this is with recommendation of staff approval, subject to conditions as indicated in Exhibit C1 through C2.
So this is for item 11A and B.
11A and B, sorry.
Okay. I have a first from Commissioner Weiss, a second from Commissioner Flores. All in favor, all opposed. See, that motion carries 7-0. Okay. Yes, we are now on item 14, Workforce Housing Program.
We're just going to take a moment to shuffle.
Okay. I think we're going to take a 5-minute break here. And we're missing 2 folks. And we have 11 cards, so buckle up. We are here, this is board direction for follow-up, and we're excited to hear what you have in store for us.
Yes, good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. I have with me HED Director Jonathan Brown, Maria Beller, our expert with Workforce Housing, and of course, Assistant Administrator Tammy Field. Again, TWE shut for the record. We are reporting back to the board after having direction back in February 27th of this year on the 13 workforce housing topics. We'd like to also bring back, as directed, the 13 points that were discussed back in February. Planning staff has been yearly looking at emerging trends as well as opportunities for improvements to the program to increase the availability of workforce housing. At that time in February, the board directed staff again to further meet with industry and return to the board to report back to the board. Staff has been doing that, however, July, when the governor has approved the Senate Bill 180, that basically has a lot of impact on the options that we're bringing to you. Darren will review shortly those impacts and the county's ability to do the tweaks to the workforce housing. So, yes. So, the Senate bill affects the county's ability, like I said, to do some of the changes. However, there are certain things that we could do so that it will improve the program if the board directs us. And also, these are related to some of the funding, and also Mr. Brown will be able to go over those in details as well. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Darren. Oh.
Up here. So I think the Senate Bill 180, we've discussed it several times. It's come up, numerous times over the last couple of weeks. I think the bullet point here to focus on for this workforce housing is the third one that begins more restrictive or burdensome comprehensive plan amendments, land development regulations, or procedures for review, approval, or issuance of a site plan, development permit, or development order. So this is the language for if we get hit by a hurricane and we're within 100 miles of the track of it, we'll be prohibited from doing that for 1 year after landfall. If you could go to the next slide, this is the one we're currently under. And again, you'll see that third bullet point, the language is identical. We are prohibited from proposing or adopting more restrictive or burdensome amendments to our comp plan, our land LDRs, procedures for a review or issuance of a site plan for development permit or development order. So that limits our options. We can't be more restrictive, but we can loosen the restrictions. So, and that's all I have to say.
So the slide before you, slide 5.
Hold on, can you clarify for us exactly what the time frame is to be able to make changes?
So currently, if you go back a slide, we are prohibited from proposing or adopting the more restrictive changes until October 1st, 2027.
Yeah, that's...
My question is, I thought I heard you say 1 year from the disaster.
That's from hurricanes that are brewing now or in the future. That's going forward. But as of right now, under Senate Bill 180, we are prohibited until October 1st, 2027.
So they set a date, and then they said after that date, it's 1 year from the occurrence?
Well, yeah, it's not just after that date. Let's say one comes in on September 30th, 2027, yeah. So it could be even, it could overlap potentially.
I guess what I'm asking is, this is the soonest date possible, even though it's over a year out?
Yes.
Thank
This
you.
is the soonest date possible.
So pretty much, yeah, exactly, pretty much never. Commissioner Powell, your light is on.
What happens in the case of an extension of those emergency declarations, which most of them get extended and extended and extended? Does that, and I didn't read the statute, but does that transfer and extend this particular
That's a
date?
different I mean, it's similar, but it's different. That's for the extensions of development orders. In this situation, these restrictions, the restrictions on the moratorium and the more restrictive or burdensome amendments, those would be for a period of a year. Presumably, the legislature could change its mind, but they have before. But that's the way the statute reads now.
Okay, so slide 5 shows the 13 points that were previously discussed with the board. As you can see, there's some that we could also, upon board direction, improve on those items. Maria will be going over each of those points for the board.
So when you have SB 180 impact and you have a check mark, basically, there's nothing we can do about those things.
Exactly.
So we can just skip right through those.
Yeah.
Okay. However, there are several on this slide that don't have a check mark after them. That would be the second item and the last item.
Yes.
Right, and we'll be going through those.
Okay, Commissioner Woodward has a question.
Hi, just a question. The ones that you have a check mark by, are those ones that we currently have, but we have to undo because this goes back to August of '24?
No, there is nothing in this list that was enacted after August of 2024.
So we're not undoing anything that
These
we...
were just proposals that were brought to you in February for discussion, and most of them have fallen off as a result. Yeah. Okay, so I've been asked to give you a little refresher on the workforce housing program to provide some context for the recommendations and items that we will be discussing, and basically how the workforce housing program applies and when it applies. So just quickly, there's basically two ways in which the workforce housing program is applied. First, and this is the way the program was designed originally, is for projects seeking development approval. These projects are essentially entering the zoning process. They're going to use the land use designation that they already have in place. These are projects of 10 units or more in the urban-suburban tier. They're not looking for a comprehensive plan amendment to increase density. They could increase density if they want to with transfer development rights and/or workforce housing density bonus, but they're basically good to go in the zoning process. These are the projects that the workforce code is intended to apply to, and those projects end up with a workforce obligation of anywhere from 2.5% to upwards of 20%, depending on if they choose density bonuses, like transfer development rights, workforce housing density bonus, and so on. And for these types of projects, they can deal with their workforce obligation any of the ways that are in the code. They can provide the units on-site, they can provide the units off-site, they can pay the in lieu fee, they can use an exchange builder, whatever they prefer to do. The second way in which workforce housing requirements are applied is a more recent occurrence, and that has to do with comprehensive plan amendments. These are projects that are going through the comp plan amendment process because they're looking to increase density significantly beyond what they could do with density bonuses and transfer development rights. So before the late teens, we were not seeing a lot of amendments that were looking to also use TDRs and workforce housing density bonus. What we have been then, what we would see is projects getting their amendments and then going to zoning and getting their workforce obligation there. But starting in the late teens, we began to see more and more amendments that were looking to jump up 2 or 3 land use categories and basically bypass the use of transfer of development rights or workforce housing density bonus. And the reason for that is because the exaction for workforce, the obligation for workforce is much lower on just the future land use component and much higher on the density bonuses. So it would benefit projects to jump up to a higher land use designation and avoid using those. So there were a couple of issues with this. First, it was resulting in fewer workforce units than we might have otherwise obtained. And the second is that particularly not using transfer of development rights was inconsistent with the comp plan. The Board of County Commissioners had passed a policy back in 1998 that required the use of transfer of development rights as the mandatory method of increasing density. And so as a result of seeing more and more of these in the mid to late teens, in 2018, the Board of County Commissioners gave staff direction that when there was a plan amendment, that we should bring workforce into it and make a recommendation to the board every time that 10% of single-family, 20% of townhomes, or 25% of multifamily units that would result from that comp plan amendment would be restricted as workforce housing. That was a recommendation that staff was supposed to bring forward, and those units would be on site. The board could then consider it and decide if it wanted to make that a condition of approval. The board at the time was asked, do you want to memorialize that as a policy or a code requirement? The answer was no. They wanted to retain the discretion to apply that on a case-by-case basis. So that's why when you see an amendment before you now in the urban suburban, actually in any tier except ag reserve, it has that recommendation from staff for 10, 20, or 25% of the units on site. So just to give you that historical context, because some of the things we're going to be talking about relate to these two areas. Okay, so returning to the possible changes to the workforce housing program, you saw the list from back in February. Most of those items are not doable under Senate Bill 180. However, there is one that we think can move forward at this time, and that is allowing projects to voluntarily participate, small projects to voluntarily participate in the workforce housing program. They can't right now. They're precluded from doing that if they have fewer than 10 units. But we do get calls all the time from the developers that want to participate because they're looking for a little extra density bonus and they're willing to restrict the units. So this is an easy thing. It would be voluntary. It would not be more restrictive than it is today. So if the board directs, this is something that certainly could be implemented. Okay, and then now we're going to turn to the recommendations from industry. As Twee mentioned back in February, you directed staff to meet with industry and get additional input on the workforce housing program. Letters have been provided by the Housing Leadership Council, the Gold Coast Builders Association, and the Partners for Housing. All of those are in your packets. They date back a while. We have also continued to meet with them. In addition, the Economic Council has been participating in meetings with staff as well. In addition, I believe that you have received some emails in the last few days. I've received these this morning that also relate to some of the proposed items here. So what I'll be doing is introducing each one of the recommendations from industry and outlining for you some considerations. As you look at those, I'm sure there are industry representatives here that can elaborate on these if you like. Okay, so the first set of changes relate to the code requirements of the workforce housing program. First, industry is recommending that the county implement flexible development regulations. The flex regs are essentially a way to more or less customize development regulations for individual projects to meet the needs of that project. And there's many different ways and concepts, but that's the essential idea. Industry is proposing this because it thinks it's an incentive that the county could offer to meet a state requirement that came about a few years ago now, that requires local governments that have mandatory inclusionary zoning programs, like the county's workforce housing program, that these local governments need to provide incentives that fully offset the cost to the developer of providing the additional units. So just to repeat that, the requirement is that local governments that have mandatory inclusionary zoning programs, like Palm Beach County does, need to provide incentives that fully offset the cost to developers of providing the required units.
I see here on this slide you have in lieu. I think there was a large discussion with this board about in lieu, and we were really not in the favor of in lieu because we want units in the ground.
Right, well, that's sort of a related issue that if the board wanted to eliminate the in lieu program, you cannot under Senate Bill 180 because it would make the program more restrictive than it is today by eliminating an option available to developers today. But this is strictly in the flex reg realm. This is something that industry is asking about. Again, to have an incentive in place that fully offsets the cost for developers. And this is something that zoning staff actually was looking at from before this issue, and I think is in the early stages of coordinating with industry on what flexible development regulations would look like. Second issue.
Hold on one second.
Yes.
Commissioner Flores, sorry, I didn't see your light on.
So based on that state regulation, does that include just the normal requirement, or does it include also the bonus? Because the bonus is a bonus, so that's not, they're requesting that because they want it, right?
Right.
So would it include the bonus?
Well, Darren may want to address this as he did, I think, back in February, but the issue is that has not yet been tested legally as to whether the county simply making a bonus available might be sufficient to fully offset, or does it have to be something that directly benefits each project, like potentially flexible development regulations?
Right, the language is we've got to offer the fully offset, so, projects that are required but don't take any bonus, we've got to offset that workforce housing requirement. So the flex regs are potentially one way to do that.
And how many projects would you say do not take the bonus option? Is that a high percentage?
About a third do not take a density bonus, maybe a little less. Yeah.
Okay.
Continue, thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so the next recommendation from industry is that when there is a density bonus that a project wants to use, that the density bonus be available by right and not through a separate approval process. The way it works today is that density bonuses up to 50% are administrative. They're handled by staff, and they're essentially automatic. No board approval is required for those. However, for density bonuses beyond 50%, from 50 to 100%, those require board approval and have always required board approval. And the reason for that is that the program was so that the board could weigh in on impacts of that higher density bonus, including things like compatibility. So it would be up to the board if you wanted to change that and make a higher percentage or all density bonuses administrative. That would certainly be less restrictive, so you certainly could do that, but the trade-off is that board control and discretion. Yeah. Okay, the next recommendation from industry is really a two-part recommendation, and it has to do with the rent schedule. And again, I'm just touching on the highlights of these, but it has to do with the rent schedule, and I'm going to take the two parts separately. First, industry is recommending to do away with the middle income category. You see it crossed out here on the slide. The issue is basically that rents in this category are often at or sometimes above market rents in the area, and so these units are hard to fill, and they're not really providing any benefit for the residents, and it's just a restrictive consideration for the developers. And certainly the board could opt to direct staff to do away with this highest category in the middle income. One thing to consider, though, is under Senate Bill 180, you could not take the 25% of the units that are there and put them in the three lower categories, because you would be making the program more restrictive by requiring more units down in the lower categories. So you'd basically be giving up 25% of the units, unless a change to do that, to spread the same number of units over three categories, were to be proposed by industry, because private amendments are acceptable under Senate Bill 180.
Commissioner Weiss?
Yeah, thank you. That was my question, is if it was voluntary, then it would be acceptable. So if we decided that was something we wanted to do and industry was voluntarily willing to do that, then under SB 180, it would be allowable.
Not be more restrictive. Yeah.
Correct, right. It would be voluntary. Otherwise, we could not, if it's not voluntary.
Yeah.
Understood. Okay.
So in essence, for this particular one, we could write that into the requirement.
You could do away with the top category and then allow developers to voluntarily.
We really can't do away with it unless it is, they voluntarily say, we want to do this. We can't take it away.
Well, you could take away you could take it away because it would be less restrictive, right? I guess we'd have to.
But we would be losing density if we did that.
Yes, exactly.
Commissioner Woodward.
Yeah, just to make sure I understand this one, if we do away with that category, then those units just go to market?
Yeah.
So we lose a quarter of the units.
As income restricted, but not, and that's the only option we have with SB 80? Because otherwise it would trigger SB 80 to take it to the below 120 mark?
You have you can leave it as it is today, and you have the option to do away with that category if you like. What you cannot do is expand the requirement at the lower three categories, because that would be more restrictive than the program is today. Sending those to market is not more restrictive, but
No, I get that,
reallocating
but,
them to the
that
lower three
category
categories.
almost is market,
Yeah.
really, so, all right, thank you.
Okay, the second part of industry's recommendation with regard to the rent schedule has to do with eliminating the subcategories that we have under each bracket. And I'm going to take just a minute to explain how it works today, and it has since 2019, is that in each category, so in the low of 60 to 80, we have two subcategories, 60 to 70 and 70 to 80. The intent was to better align a person's income with the rent charged. And this came about in 2019 because we were having lots of calls from individuals that were experiencing large rent jumps. Even though the rent they were going to be charged was still compliant, it was still several $100s more. So this was the approach that was taken when the code was revised in 2019 to try to address that. Okay, so what industry is suggesting is to eliminate that middle category, as I noted earlier, but also to then collapse those subcategories and go back to the program as it was before 2019, when it was just a broad range. But as I indicated, what we were experiencing was, for example, someone in a one-bedroom low category could start in that unit at $1,316, and then at renewal a year later experience a more than $400 a month increase in rent, and it would still be compliant. So,
Commissioner Woodward.
Thank you. For that, don't they still have to qualify based on income, and shouldn't that rent be a percentage of that income?
they only have to qualify into a category. The rent is then anywhere in the rent range for that particular category. So someone with an income of $67,080 to $89,440 would have, in a one-bedroom, a rent anywhere from $1,316 to $1,755. That's the way the program was set up in 2006, and that's the way it's continued. I think maybe some thought was given at the time to doing it in the way that some local governments do, which is to do an income test and base the rent on a percentage of the household's income, but the decision was made at the time that was too onerous, I think, for property managers and perhaps for the county as well, and that was not the way, the approach that was taken. This approach has been in place
So you're saying someone could come in and qualify, they make $69,000, and then they get a smidge of a raise, the next year they make 71, they could be charged They could just be bumped to what would be the equivalent of 89,000?
No, they would still.
That's in that range, 67 to 89,000.
Yeah, well, they could be charged anywhere up to $1,755 in that one bedroom. Yes, yes. They would still be in that low category, but any rent between $1,316 and $1,755 is compliant. So that's why in 2019, we did this, splitting each one into a top half and a bottom half to at least try to better align the household income to that rent that was going to be, or the rent to the household income.
So we're not actually income qualifying people other than the very first lease when they get in.
Right, it's the property managers that do this, and this is what they look at, this table, and if it falls anywhere in that income range, they know they can charge any rent in that associated rent range. Yeah.
They're doing that annually, right?
Okay, I'm
At renewal.
learned something new.
Yeah.
Okay, go to the, there you go. This is what we're talking about, right? Okay, so basically what you're saying then is industry doesn't want to do the homework. But if they don't want to do the homework, somebody who is in the 60 category right now could possibly be charged in the 80 category.
In charge at the top of the category, yes.
Don't like that.
And it's also market-driven. In certain markets, they can't get the high end of the rent. In others, the units are full.
I mean, the thing that we experience most often up here is when we hear about the shocking increases in rent from year to year, and how that because that increases so much, somebody's in danger of losing their home. So my personal opinion is I like to keep it the way it is. But
And if I
we
may,
got lots of people to weigh in on this one, I'm sure.
if I may, industry may want to elaborate on this, but I think one of their concerns is for their pro formas and their projections when they're preparing to develop projects, they need more predictability, and not knowing if a tenant is going to be, what the rent is going to be in the top half or the bottom half for those tenants. I should point out that they're not required currently to find a tenant in the 60 to 70 and another one in the 70 to 80. It's just what is the income of that person that walks in, and then just to better align it. So, all right. The next industry recommendation has to do with eliminating that 25% recommendation on future land use amendments that I mentioned earlier, that since 2018, staff has been bringing forward, based on board direction, a recommendation for 10, 20, or 25% of the units to be workforce. Industry would like that to not continue. It's obviously more costly to restrict a larger number of units, and they may make some projects that would otherwise be viable not be viable. So again, this was board direction. The other concern from industry is that workforce, if we're restricting a lot of units as workforce, let's say 25%, anything that's restricted as workforce is not eligible for bond funding from the county. And that was an intentional decision that workforce units would not be otherwise restricted. Otherwise, you're essentially using the same unit, double counting it to meet requirements of two different programs. So for the most part, particularly in our multifamily projects, the benefit that they've received is not funding, but it's density. And so those units are restricted because of that density. The other funding would be to would require the restriction of other additional units. So. All right. The next recommendation from industry has to do with eliminating the requirement to purchase transfer development rights when there is a future land use amendment. I mentioned earlier that this is a policy that the county has had in place since 1998. TDRs, transfer development rights, you're all familiar with them, are never required for a project that's just entering the development approval process. Again, it's only those that are going through the amendment process seeking a significant increase in density.
Hold on.
Commissioner Powell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The project that we just saw was going through a land use amendment and was also seeking transfer development rights. Would this impact a project like the one we just
The 7th at Haverhill
Yes.
project, that one is purchasing all of the available transfer development rights. That one doesn't have the 25% requirement because in fact it's 100%.
Okay, thank you.
Restricted. Yeah. But typically, yes, projects that you would see coming through would have that recommendation from staff. So the board adopted that policy back in 1998, that TDRs would be the required method of increasing density because the county had purchased or was in the process of purchasing large amounts of environmentally sensitive lands and created a bank of the development rights that were removed from those environmentally sensitive lands. And so there was the ability to sell the units from the TDR bank and transfer basically density away from environmentally sensitive areas and agricultural areas to the more urban area. So that was the reason for the bank and one of the reasons for the policy. And it was also an opportunity to use the proceeds from the sale of those development rights toward the maintenance of environmentally sensitive lands, natural areas. So I think another thing to note with regard to transfer of development rights is that they also contribute to workforce housing. Transfer of development rights have a 34% workforce housing obligation. So 1 out of 3 TDRs is going to generate a workforce obligation. And when TDRs are used for workforce housing, they are deeply discounted. They're 95% discount on transfer of development rights that are used for workforce housing. Okay, this one really, we don't really need to go into. Industry is requesting something that actually is already in the code and has been there since 2019. Essentially, the board created an exception in 2019 to allow projects that are using an exchange partner to come to the board on a case-by-case basis to see if it would allow layering of funding and therefore layering of restrictions. So this is in place, has not been used, but it is in place. All right, another recommendation from industry, particularly the nonprofits, is to create an in lieu fee waiver for projects that are going to provide all of their units at workforce prices. What is happening is they're voluntarily going to price units at the workforce level, but they also have a workforce obligation. If they want to meet that obligation by paying the in lieu fee, it becomes cost prohibitive. So they would like to have a waiver to do away with a requirement for the in lieu fee in these situations. And essentially, without that waiver, industry indicates that it creates an incentive for them to trade off some of the workforce for market rate to make up that money that's necessary. So that's the request there.
Commissioner Weiss has his light on.
Thank you, and I just clarification that their request is only on the for sale projects.
Yes, yes, thank you. Okay, and then industry is also recommending that proceeds from the sale of transfer development rights be redirected toward housing purposes and away from the current use, which is the management and maintenance of natural areas. Some considerations here is that the directive to use those funds to support environmentally sensitive lands and management of those is in the comprehensive plan as well as in the Unified Land Development Code. In addition, even though who manages that process, can't predict how much is used every year, how much they would have available every year, they do use those. They put those forward every year as balance brought forward into the next budget year and have that money available for the maintenance. And even though the proceeds are highly variable from year to year, TDRs have provided an average of more than $652,000 a year for the last 11 years.
And we wouldn't have TDRs if it weren't for our environmentally sensitive lands.
Yes, this is correct. There is a program for private transfer of TDRs, but there have been virtually none of those. those would not go through the county. Oh, I'm sorry, thank you. And then this is a chart provided by showing the TDR revenues collected over the last 11 fiscal years. You can see how variable and unpredictable they are. All the funds that have been collected have been spent on the management of those 32,000 acres of natural areas and environmentally sensitive lands that are managed by and again, with an average annual amount of $652,000.
So question, what happened in 2023?
Staff, I'm sure, will be happy to address that for you.
Please.
Mayor, if I could, I think the other point on the TDR collections, it's a function of when a project comes through. So this board could approve a project that has TDRs, but if they didn't come to the point where they needed to make their payments, that could be 3 years down the road from approval, it could be a year from when they approve. So what really drives it the most is when the project actually initiates.
Good afternoon. Deb Drum, Department Director for We can't really say, I mean, it was just a year, it was just a low year. You could say the same thing about FY22. What happened in FY22, it was extremely high. So it wasn't anything specific, it's just the timing of when projects come through. This chart was really to show the unpredictable nature of the funds.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And if I may, I will point out that starting in 2019, you can see the increase that I think would be associated with the fact that TDRs were then part of that discussion with amendments and the whole focus on how amendments were being handled and the jumping up of categories versus using transfer development rights and workforce density bonus. And that concludes our list of topics from industry with regard to the program. I know they've also had some suggestions that you're going to review as well, or some discussion items.
Yes, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, Jonathan, Housing Economic Development. So there's also been conversation about the in lieu fees and how those in lieu fees can be used for other housing activities. So I wanted to share a little bit about what programs the board has already approved in HED. We start with our homebuyer assistance programs, where we provide second mortgage assistance up to $100,000 for those whose incomes are up to 140% of the area median income based on source. HUD's funding, AMI is a little bit lower, our bond is a little bit low. So depending on the funding source determines the max AMI. Impact fee assistance program, credits that go toward residential, for sale construction, serving home buyers right now, again, up to 140% AMI. We also provide single family development funding to developers to create or to construct or acquire, rehabilitate single-family homes up to 140% AMI. Now, one of the things I wanted to point out, when we talk about affordability, we define affordability based on up to 35% of someone's household income toward their housing payment. We include principal, interest, taxes, insurance, as well as condo and or HOA fees, and we try to keep an individual at that level. Just to give you an idea of what the AMI looks like, at 140% AMI, it's a family of 4 up to 163,660. Okay. And so developers may satisfy a workforce housing program obligation by paying an in lieu fee. We haven't seen as much of that lately, but again, that's an option that they have as part of one of the tools in the toolbox. Current in lieu fee amounts are, $146,000 and change per single family unit, $122,307 for a townhome, $91,730 for a multifamily unit. Now, in total, since the inception of the program, $28.3 million have been paid in the in lieu funds, via in lieu funds to the Housing Trust Fund. Approximately at this point, about $9.5 million has been expended, $18.8 million is available. We try and keep a sufficient number available because we continue to have for sale housing projects coming through, and without much in lieu fees coming through, we want to make sure that the developers that are typically building the for sale workforce housing has a source of down payment assistance for their buyers. We've assisted 246 home buyers to date. We're working with another project now in Boynton Beach. And then again, our workforce program, workforce housing for sale option, the only option for the in lieu fees is down payment assistance. Now, as we think about, well, what else can the dollars be used for? A few suggestions that staff has put together if the board wants to consider providing construction loans to nonprofit developers that are building affordable for sale units. And we can work similar to some of the other programs where we provide the nonprofit a 0% interest rate, and we use that almost as a revolving loan fund. As those dollars are repaid, we can assist other developers, nonprofit developers who want to build affordable single-family for-sale homes. We can also provide first mortgages. Currently, we provide first mortgages in some instances, but we can look at providing first mortgages for buyers. Now, as you can imagine, I see you, Commissioner Mayor Shigeta, yeah, first mortgages are going to use a lot more of the dollars, again, depending on the cost of the homes. And then we could also look at...
I don't want to be a bank.
We're already there, Mayor.
I know, but this...
Yes, ma'am.
This is large chunks.
Yes, ma'am.
The way we function right now is we spread it out. But if we start doing individual mortgages like this, the funds will be depleted instantly.
Yes, it will. Yes, it will. And then the other option we can look at is rehabilitation, emergency repair, or any sort of accessibility type of repairs for individual homeowners. The only difference with that one is that that's more of a forgivable program if we were to institute that, whereas your construction loans or first mortgages would be repayable programs. And so, again, you know, some of the concerns with
Hold on 1 second. Bobby, you're waving. Do you have a question? You want to go back to that slide?
Yes, sir.
Rehab, emergency repair, accessibility. Of owner-occupied single-family. Forgivable loans to preserve homeownership for the workforce, elderly, and disabled. How does that work?
So we would look at, as we talked about, the income eligibility, the AMI of the individual, determine that the individual meets the area median income requirements for workforce housing, and if their home is in need of repairs or rehabilitation, similar to what we do in SHIP or home, we would then use some dollars to do rehabilitation.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
We could use CDBG grants for that too, though, can't we?
We can use CDBG as well. Yes, ma'am. And so, again, one of the concerns would be is the trend that we've been seeing over the past few years with not a lot of developers opting to do in lieu fees. Again, board, you've shared before some concerns and not really looking for in lieu fees. You'd rather have the units constructed. So we're seeing that. We want to make sure we retain a sufficient amount of funds for the home buyers that are coming through. We've had conversations over the years with the for sale developers, and they've, again, looking for some sort of assurance that we'll be able to assist the buyers that are purchasing the units if we're going to require the creation of those units. And so we've been doing that. We have about, again, 63 home buyers in the pipeline for a project now with Pulte in Boynton Beach. Limit new in lieu activities to those requiring full repayment. Again, if we're going to look at some options of using the in lieu fee, if you want it to revolve, you want to make sure you select a program that allows it to revolve and replenish, since at this point, just as you know, we're not creating new land, there's not really, in lieu fees are not really coming back in like they were before. If we were to do an affordability period, we'd want to maintain the 15-year recurring affordability period on home buyer assistance and rehab type programs. But if the board wanted to consider a first mortgage, then we would say a 30-year non-recurring affordability period would be more consistent, because typically you're going to have a 30-year mortgage.
So with that, we have this slide that shows possible discussion and direction from the board. Again, with respect to the code, there are 5 items that could be considered. You could, and I can go over them, or you can, you know, make comments.
We have 11 or so cards.
Yes.
So before we do discussion and direction, why don't we take the cards?
Sure.
Okay.
Madam Mayor, and while we're doing that, I just want to take a moment of personal privilege. myself and Commissioner Sachs, a good friend of ours has just stepped into the chamber from Pinellas County, attorney and state senator Darrell Roussan.
There he is. Oh, my God.
Good to see you. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to Palm Beach County.
Okay, I'm going to call out the first.
Hold on a second. Commissioner Sachs also has her light on.
Thanks so much, Commissioner. Good to see you, Senator. Right behind him, we have our former mayor and county commissioner Karen Marcus is with us today, too. So, oh, yeah. You're not Karen. Nor Darrell. Thank you, Commissioner Powell.
Commissioner Woodward?
Okay. Call out the first 6 cards. We have Jack Weir, Michelle Jacobs, Kevin Rattery, Gail Ladd, Linda Smith, and Suzanne Cabrera. We have 2 microphones.
3 minutes, huh? Okay. Good afternoon. Jack Weir, representing the Housing Leadership Council. I know staff characterized it as industry, but the groups that provided input were actually Gold Coast Builders, a trade association, Housing Leadership Council, Nonprofit Housing Advocacy Group, Economic Council, Business Group, and Nonprofit Partnership. So it's a broad spectrum. It's not just narrow industry. So the first item is bonus density, and our objective is to make the program more effective. So we're not talking about what was proposed in February. We're talking about what we put in our letter, which you received in your package. So the reason that you're seeing more land use amendments is Palm Beach County's density is very low. Your maximum density for high residential is 12. That's townhome density. Just to put that in perspective, 21 units is 3-story garden, 31 units an acre is 4-story surface park elevator buildings. So you're on the low end of the spectrum. The only way to increase the density is through the workforce housing program at the current time. So the issue when you purchase TDRs is 34% is heavily discounted, $1,550 per unit. But the other 66%, 2/3, are $31,500. You put that on top of the land cost. Every landowner, every broker in Palm Beach County knows to factor in density bonus when they're selling a unit. So if it's $50,000 a unit and you pile $30,000 a unit on top of that, you've just blown a torpedo in the hull of the deal. You never see the deals you kill, but that's a deal killer. The second thing is the 25% workforce housing recommendation. Every time there's a rent below market, it reduces the NOI. Our model, like that of most other developers, is we put our own money in as equity, but we also get investors. If you have a $500 rent reduction per month, you times that by 12 months, that's $6,000. If you times that by a 5% cap rate, that's $120,000 in lost value. If you multiply that by 50 units, that's $6 million in lost value. That's the cost of the thing. There's no subsidy here. This is the condition of approval that you get through. So you have to figure out a way to fill that gap. If the project doesn't have enough room, the deal dies. The other thing with the bonus density is we weren't arguing for going over 50% as a matter of right where the BCC doesn't get any input. What we said is you're coming in at the end of the process. Why would, as a developer, do hundreds of thousands of non-refundable deposits hard, spend $500,000 on due diligence and drawings not to know whether my project is viable? Why don't I just take $1 million and go to Vegas? So what you need to do is to come up with a way to have the certainty in terms of the density up front. So the staff can do the compatibility analysis and can do that. If I could continue.
Go ahead.
On the workforce housing rental categories, what we proposed was a package. We said get rid of the 140% and the 130% because that's basically at or above market in most parts of the county. But in return, and the way to get around SB 180, eliminate the middle tiers. And they're not hard tiers. I know there was a concern about that management or developer didn't want to get into too much of the details, but the way it works now is you're 70%, but if you can't find somebody, you can get up to 80%. And you can do 90%, but if you can't find somebody, you can up to 100%. The problem is you can't underwrite the higher rents because there's a possibility you do it at the lower rents. So we said, eliminate that uncertainty, do 3 tiers, spread out the 140 over the 3 others so you don't lose the number of workforce units. Do a third at 80, a third at 100, a third at 120. The way you get around SB 180 is you're eliminating the sub-tiers that have lower rents. So on balance, you're still less restrictive.
Can you wrap it up?
Yes. The in lieu payments, I know you got a whole menu of options there. The asymmetry in the bond program is you can use the housing bonds for construction and permanent financing for rental housing, but you can only use it for construction for single family. You cannot use it for permanent. There's no permanent takeout. So what we've said is there needs to be a dedicated source of permanent takeout if you're ever going to get for sale units under the bond program. You're not seeing those applications now, and that's the reason. So what we've said is the collections of the in lieu payments have exceeded the rate that's gone out. There have been balances in that account as high as 18 million, and I understand that Jonathan wants to be prudent and save money for the folks who are in the program. But we do believe there is room to use the in lieu payments for. Okay. And I think that's basically it. I'll let Suzanne and Cindy talk about the nonprofits. Happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Mayor Marino, Vice Mayor Baxter, County Commissioners, staff. My name is Michelle Jacobs. I'm the President and CEO for the Economic Council. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. As you are very aware, this program up for discussion today only applies to projects in unincorporated Palm Beach County, and unlike the bond program, no financial subsidy is being provided by the county. The county is currently imposing a workforce housing requirement as a condition of approval for a particular project to provide the necessary entitlements for the development of a project. As such, it is important for the county to assess the impact of any proposed changes on the project's economic feasibility. As far as we are aware, the county has not conducted and does not plan to conduct a study to determine how the workforce housing program or any proposed changes to it fully offsets the workforce housing obligations set forth in the program in order to demonstrate compliance with the Florida statute and/or requirements of both a nexus and rough proportionality for any exaction, whether by condition of code provision. Today, you are reviewing items that will not be impacted by SB 180 that our industry recommends. The rise in construction costs, interest rates, and insurance rates have all made the production of workforce housing harder. In light of these increases, we believe it's imperative that the county actively explore ways to improve the program so as to facilitate greater production of units by developers. These recommendations will assist developers with predictability and certainty in the pro forma process. The private sector and the industry experts are available to offer insights for improvement to the program. Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you want to go, Kevin?
You were called before me, but.
You typically try to jump in front of me, so I'm just. Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Kevin Rattery. I am here on behalf of the Gold Coast Builders Association. I'm a lifetime board member of the Gold Coast Builders Association. They have provided a letter. It's a little dated since it was February. So I wanted to go through the 2 specific points that are important to the Builders Association. The first being the number 1 on your list up there, which is to make it voluntary for projects less than 10 units. Of course, that would be a logical way to improve the program without being more restrictive to existing regulations. We support that. The discussion on flex regs is important, and I want to be clear here that the code already allows flex regs through the workforce housing program under the full density incentive option. The problem is you have code language which says, and I quote, "The only incentive available through the limited incentive option shall be the density bonus." And as your staff has indicated, you have projects which come through which are using standard density or PUD density or very small bonus density. Those projects utilizing the limited density incentive are not receiving a single incentive, and so therefore the county, and a lot of legal scholars' opinions, sorry, Commissioner Sachs, is in violation of the state statute that says you have to fully offset that cost. So we have suggested, as an industry, take those same incentives that are already built into your code under the full density incentive and make them available under the limited density incentive. To explain what that does, under the current methodology, a project which has a workforce housing obligation is not eligible to utilize any of the incentives if they're doing off-site or exchange. So the project still has an obligation, but they're not getting any of the incentives from the project. We think that's a logical change that we support. We've provided some suggested language to staff with regard to how that can be done. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I like to be able to see the clock. So Susie Cabrera with the Housing Leadership Council, and good afternoon to everybody. Good evening soon, probably. But the overall goal of this program, I think, is to maximize the production units. Housing is such a big issue, whether I'm at the BDB like I was this morning, anywhere I go, housing, housing, housing. So I think the other thing we need is simplicity and certainty when we're trying to do this. For the for-profits, when they go out and try to get their funding, we can't have like those crazy charts. I've shown that to people on our board that deal with the funding from PNC, from other lenders, and they're like, no, what is this? So I think trying to make it a little simpler would be easy, and the certainty is so important, especially for nonprofits. They have to put all their eggs in the basket, and at the end of a year or two, or you know how long development takes, they put everything in there, and they really need to know how they're going to come out on the other end, because there's really not second chances. And I think you have to consider that workforce housing units need other subsidy. And I think this is so important that if you're trying to create for sale housing, and that's the point we brought up, especially by the nonprofits who will do things like make the units available in perpetuity. It says it's permitted by right, but I have been told and been involved where they've been told not to ask for it. So if it's permitted by exception, I mean, not by right, make sure you make that available. And it's not, yeah, it's permitted an exception, but we don't want to entertain that. And I think going forward, it's important to make sure that happens. And I think if you're already doing 100% workforce housing, that exception really should be used. If you've agreed to do, we're doing 100% workforce, and then all of a sudden we triggered something and we have to do another unit or pay an in lieu fee. And especially, again, if you're a nonprofit, you're almost done with your project 100% affordable, and you have to come up with another unit or pay those in lieu fees. And in this day and age, we know how expensive that is. So I'm really hoping that we can tweak this, because we want to provide the most units too. We feel like at HLC, if we get a unit, we win, a unit that folks can afford. And then the other thing I'll add, because it's going to be important to everything we're doing, is the new YIGB legislation, Yes in God's Backyard. And I've sent them really a one-pager on it, and a webinar we did on it with Florida Housing Coalition, which will tell you all the great things we can do. It's not a new idea, and it's an idea whose time has come. We have a local group, Faith in Action, and we work with community services more on that. Dr. Green, he will tell you that we're reaching out to churches to make sure they are protected, to make sure they go through that discernment process and are not taken advantage of by any developers. We would hate to see that, and I've talked to Enterprise over the weekend at our conference, and we're going to bring that formal program they talked about here to Palm Beach County. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Gail Ladd. I'm from Jupiter, Florida, and it is my understanding from the chart also that potential changes to the workforce housing program due to the passage of Senate Bill 180 in the last legislature may impact funds from the transfer development rights that the environmental resource management depends on to maintain the county's environmentally sensitive lands. It's noted in the comp plan that the TDR program is designed in part to protect these lands. I hope that any action today would not change that. Otherwise, where will the money come from? Funds for workforce housing receive support from voters in the last election. These funds should not be transferred from ERM. So please, number 3, don't do that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Greetings, Linda Smith, Jupiter, Florida. I want to thank you for putting aluminum cans in your drink vendor. And speaking of EV chargers, there's something wrong. There's a bag on the one in your parking garage. I was a little hot and sweaty today because I was an volunteer at the event at Snook Island Natural Area this morning from 7:30 to 10:30. I hope you're aware that volunteers supplement maintenance with hundreds of thousands of hours of work. I'm asking you to continue the TDR funding for our environmentally sensitive lands. You don't have to get up early and work in the heat, although it wasn't that hot this morning, really. You don't have to budget additional taxpayer funds. You just have to leave it alone. TDR revenues are crucial to the support and maintenance of the county's environmentally sensitive lands and natural areas. These areas are the crown jewels of Palm Beach County, which makes us unique to other counties. And all of you county commissioners had a great part in that, and thank you. Over time, all of us, have spent millions to acquire and maintain these areas, and it's critical to all of our mental health, physical health, clean air, and water. To put that huge investment at risk at this point seems inconceivable. I would agree with the Housing Leadership Council and Gold Coast Builders Comment 13, reducing parking requirements in transit-oriented housing projects. This makes sense. I think I have been pretty clear about this in the past. Workforce housing needs to be in transit-oriented locations near Palm Tran, Tri-Rail, and even Brightline. I would disagree with any comments suggesting that the TDRs be used for housing purposes because of the historic relationship of TDRs being transferred to these environmentally sensitive lands. So far, the county commissioners have not had to budget those funds because it's been coming from the TDRs. I did note that the Gold Coast Builders and Professional is a professional business organization, was disappointed to learn by accident about this process in February of this year. Well, the environmental community of nonprofit volunteers just heard about it this week when the agenda was published. And in the past, working with nonprofits and as a retired architect, I'm familiar with the concept that people like to get their names on buildings. They like to buy natural areas, but very few want to actually pay for the maintenance on that building. But without the maintenance on that building or the maintenance of our natural areas, the building will fall down and our natural areas will degrade. I hope Palm Beach County continues the historic relationship of TDRs being transferred to the environmentally sensitive lands. If there was any proposed changes to this process, I guess you're going to have to spend more money to conduct a study documenting the impact that that would have. So please just leave it alone and protect the crown jewels.
Okay, thank you. We have 5 more. Melinda Ogden, Sabina Begg, Barbara Roth, Cindy LaCourse Bloom, and Karen Marcus.
And we have 2 podiums.
Hi, I'm Melinda Ogden. Thank you for not putting me after Karen Marcus. As you know, 30 years ago, the people of Palm Beach County voted to acquire our natural areas. They have again continued to support the preservation of high-quality natural areas as demonstrated last year when the state parks were under development threat, and again late last fall in support of the protection of our county natural areas. Our natural areas are amazing, and that is thanks to the effort of invasive species threaten these spaces at all times. They must be consistently managed and removed. Without the current level of management, these invasive species will move in and very quickly smother the native ecosystems. They will destroy these spaces and eliminate the ecosystem services that they provide to the birds, the bees, the butterflies, the gopher tortoises, everything. Please continue to protect these spaces and all the funds used to maintain them as functional habitats and spaces for our citizens to recreate and find peace. Let's not try to solve one problem, one big housing problem, and consequently create another. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Sabina Begg, and I am here representing Audubon Everglades.
I wanted to begin to say that we fully support the workforce housing. We feel that it is critical for our community and for the families who live and work here, but that need has already been addressed through the $200 million bond that taxpayers have supported. Diverting money away from our natural areas undermines the very spaces that make our county livable and unique. Our natural areas are far more than green spaces. They are living classrooms, refuges for wildlife, and places that support both mental health and community well-being. At Audubon Everglades, a majority of our tours and educational programs take place in these natural areas. Every year, we bring thousands of students, participants, including Title I students, families, and individuals with different abilities into these habitats to learn, connect, and experience nature firsthand. These opportunities cannot be replicated in a classroom. They're formative, educational, and for some, life-changing. These areas are also critical stopovers for migratory birds who depend on them for food and rest on their long journeys. They're home to native plants and wildlife already struggling in the fragmented landscape. If we degrade these habitats, we not only harm biodiversity, we undermine $1 billion birding and ecotourism industry that supports Florida's economy, especially here in Palm Beach County. Beyond economics, these places matter deeply to people. They provide free and equitable spaces that improve mental health and strengthen our communities. My own children grew up and continue to grow up exploring these natural areas, and their experiences have shaped who they are today. And these experiences were free. Future generations deserve that same opportunity. Protecting these areas is not optional, it is essential. I urge you to safeguard the purpose of the TDR funds and protect our natural areas while advancing workforce housing with the resources already allocated. Both are vital to our community's future, but we cannot sacrifice one to achieve the other. And finally, let us remember the lesson from Jonathan Dickinson State Park. When the public was asked, the bipartisan response was loud and clear. People want native wild spaces protected and supported. Palm Beach County residents feel the same. Public wild spaces should and must be protected. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Cindy LaCourse Bloom, Community Land Trust of Palm Beach County and the Treasure Coast, and Partners for Housing Palm Beach County. Thank you for considering changes to the program that could make it more effective in producing the housing we all need. I do want to request approval of the waiver for 100% workforce housing priced homeownership developments. The reason being, if without one, it incentivizes some of the units to be turned to market to cover those additional costs. And even if the in lieu fee is collected, what we've seen is that it's not sufficient to actually produce additional units. The next recommendation would be to allow exchange funds to be used with other subsidies, including county-donated lands. While it's correct that it has been allowed by the program since 2019, the sentiment that's been that we've been feeling is that it's not an acceptable use of the program. So we just want to, make sure there's clarification on that to either get rid of that ban from using it, or even the requirement that it come to the BCC, because that's additional time and uncertainty, or at least, make sure everyone's on the same page that it is a valid option and it can come to the BCC for consideration. Part of the reason that we ask this is that the gap is just so large, particularly when it comes to homeownership housing, that we really want to be able to look at using all the tools in the toolbox rather than just one, per project. It's a way to fill that ever-growing gap. So another thing that we wanted to chime in on is in regards to how the in lieu fees get used. And the recommendation is that there would be construction loan, 0%. It seems like it'd be formulated somewhat similar to the bond funding. And as we've seen, that's not been a highly utilized source. While it's greatly appreciated, the challenge that we're seeing there is that when Jack says takeout, I think subsidy, but we don't have the gap to make those projects work. So if it has to, so we would ask that that be a dedicated source to help fill that gap. But if not, and it has to be a loan, we would request that rather than it just being a construction loan, that it be a pre-development loan, or at least eligible for pre-development. And the reason reason being is that recently there's been a guideline that's put in place wherein you have to have your permits to get any county funding, which makes a lot of sense. The county wants to make sure that you're protected. And in most cases, it's a really good procedure. We find it challenging in the sources that are available to nonprofits to do pre-development, and that's particular the home fund, the federal home funds, and also the SHIP. Those have pre-development as an eligible expense, but you can't have your permits and use that funding for pre-development because the pre-development comes first. So we do ask that if those funds are used as a loan, that it's used for pre-development. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Thank you. Barbara Roth, speaking on behalf of COBRA. I always feel as though I have to start by defining the area of COBRA. We are 55 square miles. Often when we show up in the newspaper, it's only something in relation to the Ag Reserve, which is a very tiny percentage of COBRA. We stretch from Military Trail all the way to 441, from Delray to Lantana. Environmentally sensitive lands all over. We are specifically addressing that funding number 3 and are concerned that any funding not be diverted from and from environmentally sensitive lands. Again, we have communities all the way across our 55 square miles. And I believe that this board and this county, with the wisdom of the staff that you have, can do both. I think you can provide workforce housing. COBRA signed on early in support of workforce housing, and when there was an initiative to bring it into the Ag Reserve called Essential Housing, EH, we wrote a letter of support for that immediately. So we are behind you completely on workforce housing. I have watched the progression. I went to many of the early meetings, and I must say Ms. Bello is one of my heroes. But you must be able to do both in this county. Protect your environmentally sensitive lands. You can do that. Don't divert funds from They need to be able to budget appropriately, and still you can provide adequate workforce housing with the incentives. And I think one of the wisest things said today was by Mayor Marino. I don't think this county wants to become a banker. I am sensitive to that, but I think there are initiatives that can help with some of the proposals the county has brought, the staff has brought to you. Thank you so much.
I think I'm last, hopefully for you all. Hi, good evening, Karen Marcus. Yes, I'm here today on behalf of, Sustainable Palm Beach County nonprofit, but also as a former county commissioner who sat on this board when we did the environmentally sensitive lands and did the TDR program as a way to fund the maintenance of this very important asset to the county. I will say environmentally sensitive lands adds value to every single piece of property, whether it's a workforce housing or high-end, it adds value. And it's really important for drainage and other things. These dollars are doing what they were intended to do. And even though the bonds are paid off, doesn't mean it's a good time to not let them do what they do. And ERM does a great job knowing that how volatile it can be. Some days, some years they get some money, and other years it's less. So they've done a good job of managing, using all the volunteers that they use to go out there and do it. So really would request that you not take the funds from the TDR program away from ERM. If you want to find more money for ERM to do it, I'm sure they could use it because they do rely so heavily on volunteers, but it was a great program, and it's one of those that's working. And we have a reason to be very proud in this county of all the sensitive lands we own and that the taxpayers paid for. You can't buy something and not take care of it. So thank you for allowing us to speak. I would ask that because this kind of came up sudden, if you would allow some of us to be at the table as part of the discussion as you move forward and what you're going to do. I mean, and we all support workforce housing. We know how important it is, and we want our next generations to be able to afford to live here as they enjoy our natural areas. So, and I want to give a shout out to Commissioner Powell, Palm Beach Gardens High School. Go Gators. So anyway, thank you very much for letting us speak. Thank you.
Commissioner Flores, do you have a question for Karen? No. Okay, thank you.
I guess my comment regarding the dollars is like we're robbing Peter to pay Paul, and it makes no sense because then we're going to have to fund that program somehow anyways. So that's, I don't know, I think that's just my 2 cents. If we're going to find a funding source, then let's find a funding source. But to remove it from one, to funnel it to another, to then figure out how to fund the other one, it doesn't make sense.
In total agreement. Plus, if it hadn't been for the lands, there would not be a TDR program like this. So I think those dollars need to stay exactly where they are. Commissioner Weiss and then Commissioner Woodward.
Yeah, as it relates to the dollars, I think that, look, and I think there's a much broader discussion that would need to be had because we need to know how much is in that bank or in that fund, what their annual expenditures were, continuing to buy more land, when are those proceeds going to run out? And
You can have more time, I promise.
okay, thank you. I appreciate that, Vice Mayor. When those funds are going to run out, when are they projected to run out? And then, I mean, at some point, we're going to run out of TDRs unless we buy up, and I don't think, we can't continue, I mean, we're continuing to buy up land, so we have more land to maintain. But it's like any other asset that the county owns. And we don't use TDRs to fund building maintenance. We don't use TDRs to buy new, new vehicles or whatever. We plan for that, we budget for it, and that's the way we should treat our environmental lands. They're actually no different than our parks, and we budget for that every year. So it's a much broader discussion and a policy, but we're going to, at some point, and it may not be with this year, but at some point we've got to find a source of permanent funding. It doesn't make sense that they have a few dollars put away, I'm sure, because I saw the couple of years that came in. But there may, at one point, if they don't, we're going to have to find the funding somewhere because we can't let those lands go unmaintained. So that's what I have to say about that. I just want to go through your list here, and I'll give my comments, and I'm sure the rest of the board will do the same as well. On number one, allow voluntary participation. I think that's a good idea, and I would support that. I also support flexible development regs. I would like to see projects come in because part of what we're looking at is supply and demand issue. And even if we end up with more market rate and we don't get as many workforce housing units as we wanted, the sheer number is going to force the market. So I think I think that is something we need to consider. I don't have any on number. I'll come back to number. Number 3. I don't really have a problem. I think the certainty is important. The more the certainty that they have, the more projects that are going to be brought forward. The top income category, I don't have a problem eliminating it, but I think it should be done on a voluntary basis. I don't want to give up those units. I'd like to see how